Our military would be decimated. Our energy would be much more expensive. That's what Putin doesn't like about me. And that's why I say, why would he want me? Because from day one, I wanted a strong military. He doesn't want to see that. And from day one, I want fracking and everything else to get energy prices low and to create tremendous energy. He doesn't want that. He would like Hillary, where she wants to have windmills.
As President Trump continuing to counter his own intelligence chiefs, offering a new theory that Russian President Vladimir Putin actually wanted Hillary Clinton to win the election. Let's bring in Republican Congressman Chris Stewart. He sits on the House Intelligence Committee, which is investigating Russia's election interference. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning.
What do you think when you hear President Trump give answers like that?
Well, I actually agree with him. In fact, I said much the same thing, about 1,000 times last fall. I was in Russia last summer.
Why would you think that Russia wanted Hillary to win?
No, what I'm saying is that there's lots of reasons why Russia would have... Look, they had been dominating the previous administration in Crimea. They did it in Ukraine. They did it in Syria. The energy policy point is such an important point. And I mean, the greatest sanction we could impose on Russia is cheap energy prices, because as you know, it's their most powerful and most successful export. It's what they use to fund their government. And I just think those are fair points that there's lots of reasons why a Hillary presidency would have been more favorable to the Russians than a Trump presidency.
Because, I mean, that's not what our intel chiefs concluded. They concluded that he wanted President Trump to win.
And you know, and I know you're going to disagree with me on this, but I have read the raw intelligence. I have spent hours and hours at the CIA looking at that. And I've made clear I disagree with that analysis. And by the way, they say that there's 17 and that it was unanimous. That's simply not true. They also said that there was.
But hold on, I want to ask you about that. Were there any? The number 17. First, there were 17 intel agencies. Then they said it was actually just the top 4. But were any of the intel agencies saying something different? Any of the 17 saying that they think that Russia did not interfere in the election?
No, there were varying degrees of confidence, which is, I think, a fair point. Some of them said, and I say that the top 4, some have said, no, we don't share the conclusion that this is a high degree of confidence. But let's also recognize this. The Intel community is not perfect. They've missed meaningful events before. For example, saying that there was weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and that turned out not to be true. They missed the nuclear programs in India and in North Korea. Those were meaningful events. So I think we've got to start with this presumption. The intel community is not perfect. And I've said this before, I just disagree with this. I think there was real credible reasons why they would look at that and say, no, we don't think Mr. Trump is going to be better for us than Secretary Clinton.
Well, a couple things. Obviously, nobody's perfect. The intel community is not perfect, but what they would say is that since the debacle about weapons of mass destruction, that they've fixed their issues that caused that problem, that they don't silo their information in the way that they used to, that they do share more information, that they learned from that horrible experience. So that's number one. But number two, so you do not agree with them? You don't agree that Russia, that's their conclusion? You don't think that Russia interfered in our election?
No. I've said that 1,000 times. In fact, I said last fall, once again, when I came home from Moscow, I said they're going to meddle in our elections. There's no question about it, and there's no question that they did. That's very, very clear. Anyone who disagrees with that has been living on the moon over the last 6 months.
Has President Trump been living on the moon?
Well, no. The thing I disagree with is that there's this clarity that they preferred one candidate over the other.
That's
Again,
fair,
I said,
just on that point, I just want to have you clarify, because you said anybody who disagrees is living on the moon. Do you think that President Trump has always agreed that Russia 100% interfered in the election?
You know, I honestly don't know, and I'm not evading the question. I honestly don't know whether he agrees with that or not. But it doesn't matter. It's true. I think the more important question is really, did they prefer one candidate over another? And it really is an important question. I mean, think about this. There's a lot of Americans who think that our president was elected because of the interference of a foreign government. Not only a foreign government, but a foreign adversary. And I think that's something that we absolutely have to know. And again, I've looked at the evidence. And my conclusion is quite different. And by the way, we're working on a report from the Intel Committee that will bring some clarity to this, and I look forward to that coming out, because once again, the intelligence community is not perfect. They were not unanimous in their degree of confidence.
And we look forward to their conclusions as well. But what about the evidence from Don Jr.'s emails, where it is in black and white that the Russian government would prefer his father win, and in fact they said they were supporting his father. That was why he took the meeting.
Well, look, there's lots of things about this that are troubling, and there's lots of things about this that we have to understand, and the American people deserves answers on this. I don't know who Mr. Goldstone is. I don't know how in the world he would know that about Russia. I think it's probably likely that he didn't know that about Russia. He wasn't a U.S. agent. He wasn't an intelligence officer. I mean, no one was thinking or suspecting that at this time. Remember, this is way back last summer. So he may have written that, but A, I don't think he knew it.
But Donald Trump, but Don Jr. Greeted that with great enthusiasm.
No doubt, and no doubt about that. I agree with your point on that, which is why there's questions there that we have to answer. There's questions there that the American people look at that and go, holy cow, that doesn't sound good to me. And I think we owe them answers on that.
So what questions do you have for Don Jr.?
Well, I mean, there's an awful, I think there's a long list of them. I'd like to know his motives and incentives, who Mr. Goldstone is, what was his relationship with him, why would he think that he would have information like that? I mean, we could keep going. I do, in fairness, if I could, just make this point.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time on this, and I don't think that we shouldn't. Look, sitting on the committee, we've spent so much time over this over the last 6 or 8 months. But there are also other meaningful events going on in the world. I mean, we have North Korea with ICBMs over the last week. We have the death of more than a dozen U.S. soldiers. We have a ceasefire in Syria. And I think those are meaningful stories as well. And I wonder if a year from now we don't look back and say, I wonder if we lost our perspective. I wonder if we had balance in the things that we were talking about. And, you know, I'm not sure that every day that we do right now.
Yeah. Fair perspective. Congressman Stewart, thank you for being on New Day and bringing us your perspective on all of this.
Good morning. Thank you.
You too, John.
All right, thanks.